Dr. Marcus Hale hadn't planned on coming back. The invitation had come quietly, tucked between hospital memos and charity proposals. A request to help oversee the launch of a new pediatric outreach center in a small suburban community just outside the city. He'd almost ignored it. But something about the tone of the letter, the way it mentioned underserved children, and the quiet hope woven between its lines, made him pause. Now, as he stepped out of his car, crisp shoes meeting old pavement, memories swirled like dust in the morning light. The streets hadn't changed much. Same narrow sidewalks. Same red brick buildings that leaned a little from age but still held on with quiet dignity. He inhaled deeply. The air smelled like damp earth and blooming magnolias, just like it had when he left. A younger version of himself had walked away from this place carrying ambition like armor, certain that love and sentiment were luxuries he couldn't afford. Now, at 38, Marcus wore tailored suits and carried a name that opened doors in pediatric circles. But there were nights, long, quiet ones, when success didn't keep him warm. He wasn't here for closure. He wasn't here for her. That's what he told himself as he adjusted his tie and walked toward the old elementary school, where his meeting was scheduled. The office secretary greeted him with polite efficiency. "Dr. Hale, Principal Rivera will be with you shortly. You can wait inside the library." He nodded, pushing the door open and stepping into the warm hum of childhood. Books lined every wall. Small chairs circled reading rugs. Sunlight filtered through tall windows, casting golden stripes across the floor. Then he heard it. A laugh, bright, clear, like wind chimes in summer. Marcus turned. A little girl stood near the art station, crayons in hand, humming to herself as she drew. She couldn't have been older than 6. Dark curls framed her face. She wore a green dress with little sunflowers and had a bandage on one knee. But what stopped Marcus cold was her smile. Something in it tugged at something buried deep. He didn't know her. He was sure of it. And yet, that smile. "Lila," a voice called gently. "Time to head to class." The girl turned, grinned, and ran toward the woman standing in the doorway. Marcus's breath caught. It was Samantha. She hadn't changed much. Older, stronger somehow. But still with that quiet grace, like someone who had known storms and learned how to walk through them without losing herself. Her eyes met his. The air shifted. "Marcus," she said. Not cold. Not warm. Just neutral. "Samantha." Silence filled the room, heavy with unspoken years. "You're the pediatrician," she said slowly, putting a hand on Lila's shoulder. "I am," he replied. I didn't know you worked here." "I teach our classes twice a week," she said simply. "Budget cuts, you know." He nodded. The little girl, Lila, looked up at him curiously. "This is Dr. Hale," Samantha told her, voice gentle. "He's here to help open a new health center." Lila tilted her head. "Are you a real doctor?" Marcus crouched slightly, offering a small smile. "The kind that makes kids feel better. Mostly runny noses and too much ice cream." She giggled. It hit him harder than expected. "I like to draw," Lila offered. "Wanna see?" Before Samantha could say anything, the little girl darted back to the table and returned with a picture. It was a crayon drawing of 3 people holding hands, a woman, a girl with curls, and a tall man with glasses. "That's me and Mommy," she explained, pointing. "And that's someone I made up." Marcus looked down at the figure. The man had a kind face, dark hair, and eyes the same deep brown as the little girl standing in front of him. He couldn't speak. "Lila," Samantha said gently. "It's time to go." The little girl skipped ahead. Samantha lingered. "Why are you really here, Marcus?" He met her eyes. "I'm here for the clinic. For the kids." She nodded slowly. But something in her expression said she didn't quite believe him. Then she was gone. And Marcus stood in the library alone, heart pounding in his chest. The drawing still in his hand. Marcus sat in the parking lot longer than he meant to. The drawing rested on the passenger seat beside him, crayon lines slightly smudged from his fingers, but still bright and impossible to ignore. 3 figures holding hands. One of them had his eyes. That night, sleep didn't come easily. He kept seeing the little girl's face. Lila. Even her name felt familiar, like something he'd once said in a dream and forgotten until now. He wasn't imagining it. There was something about her smile, the way she tilted her head, the shape of her chin. Marcus had spent years around children. He had seen thousands of faces, thousands of personalities. But none of them had ever made his chest ache the way this one did. The next morning, he met with the development team for the clinic. They discussed timelines, equipment, community outreach. But he couldn't focus. At one point, the local coordinator, a woman named Denise, tapped his arm and said gently, "Dr. Hale, is everything all right?" He forced a smile. "Just tired. Long trip." By afternoon, he found himself parked outside the elementary school again. He had no real reason to be there. The meeting was over. His presence wasn't required. But something pulled him. The final school bell rang. Children spilled onto the sidewalk in small clusters, backpacks bouncing, voices high with excitement. And then he saw her. Lila was standing under a tree, twirling the strap of her little bag around her fingers, waiting. Marcus stayed in the car, watching. A moment later, Samantha appeared, walking with that calm, steady stride he remembered so well. She knelt to fix something on Lila's shoe. The girl leaned in, whispered something. They both laughed. It was such a simple moment. But it made his throat tighten. He didn't realize he'd stepped out of the car until Samantha turned and saw him. She looked surprised, and maybe a little guarded. "Back again?" she asked, walking toward him. "I was nearby," he said awkwardly. "Thought I'd check on the clinic site." "It's not open yet," she replied, voice unreadable. "I know," he said. Then added, "Can we talk?" Samantha hesitated, then looked at Lila. "You go ahead to the car, baby. Mommy will be right there." Lila skipped off, humming to herself. Marcus waited until she was out of earshot. "Is she mine?" he asked quietly. Samantha's eyes didn't waver. Her voice stayed calm. "I wondered how long it would take you to ask." "So?" She folded her arms. "What does it matter now, Marcus? You left." "I didn't know," he said quickly. "I swear to you I didn't know." She looked away, exhaled slowly. "I found out a few weeks after you left," she said. "Tried to call. Sent letters. But your number had changed. The email bounced back. And your mother," she answered once, "told me not to drag you down. That you were starting your residency and didn't need distractions." Marcus felt like he'd been punched. "I never got any of that." Samantha shrugged. "Doesn't change what happened." "How could I have missed 6 years?" he whispered. "I asked myself that for a long time," she said softly. "But then I stopped. I had a child to raise." "She's incredible," he said, voice thick. "Yes, she is." He looked at her carefully. "She has asthma, doesn't she?" Samantha blinked. "Nothing serious. Mostly under control." "I noticed the inhaler in her bag." There was a pause. "I want to be part of her life," he said. "If you'll let me." Samantha studied him for a long time. "Why now?" "Because I saw her face. And everything inside me changed." She didn't speak right away. Then finally she said, "I'm not saying yes. Not yet. But if you're serious, if you're really going to stick around, maybe we can start small." Marcus nodded. "I'll be here. As long as it takes." She looked down, then back up. "Don't make promises you can't keep." "Not to her." "I won't." Samantha gave a short nod, then turned toward her car. Before she got in, she called out, "She has art club every Thursday. After school." Marcus understood. He smiled. "I'll be there." The next Thursday afternoon, Marcus arrived early. He stood just outside the school gymnasium, listening to the quiet hum of voices inside. It had been a long time since he stood outside a place like this for reasons that weren't medical or professional. Today, he wasn't a doctor. He was trying to be something more. Through the open door, he spotted her. Lila sat cross-legged on the floor, a watercolor set beside her, a piece of paper in front of her filled with bold swirls of purple and yellow. Her tongue stuck out slightly as she concentrated. She was completely absorbed. Marcus smiled to himself. A few minutes later, the instructor called for cleanup. Lila wiped her brushes carefully, then reached into her small bag and froze. She looked around, eyes widening. Marcus stepped forward instinctively. "What's wrong?" he asked gently. "My inhaler," she whispered. "I think I left it at home." She wasn't wheezing yet, but he could already hear the slight catch in her breath. She looked up at him, her eyes full of fear. "Hey," he said calmly, kneeling down. "It's okay. You're okay." "I can't," she gasped. "It's starting. I'm right here." His voice stayed steady. "Breathe with me, okay?" She nodded, trying. He pulled out his phone. "Do you know your mom's number?" She rattled it off between breaths. "Hi, Samantha, it's me, Marcus," he said quickly when she picked up. "Lila's having an asthma episode. I'm with her. She doesn't have her inhaler. We need it now. I'm on my way." Samantha's voice was sharp with panic. Marcus hung up, then turned back to Lila. He gently took her hand. "Look at me," he said. "We're going to count together, okay?" "Okay," she whispered. "1, feed through your nose, out through your mouth." She followed him, shakily but with effort. "You're doing amazing," he encouraged. "Keep going." She clung to his hand, her breathing ragged but steadying just a little with each count. By the time Samantha rushed in, hair windblown, eyes wild, Lila was sitting against the wall, her head on Marcus's shoulder. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, dropping to her knees. "Baby, I'm here." Marcus moved back as Samantha gave Lila the inhaler. The little girl took deep, careful puffs, her body relaxing with each breath. Within minutes, her color returned. Samantha pulled her close. "It's okay now," she whispered. "You're okay." Lila looked up at her. "I left it on the kitchen table." "I know, sweetie. It's okay. You're safe." Marcus watched quietly, heart pounding. "She was amazing," he said softly. Samantha looked at him, eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and something harder. "Thank you," she said. He hesitated, then spoke low and steady. "She has my lungs." Samantha froze. "What?" "When I was a kid, I had asthma. Outgrew most of it by the time I was 12. But that tightness she had? I remember it. Every second of it." Samantha didn't respond. "I think I've always known," he added. "From the moment I saw her." There was a long silence. "She's yours," Samantha finally whispered. "Lila is your daughter." Marcus exhaled, slowly, deeply, as if the truth had been sitting in his chest for years, waiting to be let out. "She doesn't know?" he asked. "No," Samantha said. "She knows she doesn't have a dad. She knows I love her more than anything. But she doesn't know why you left, or who you are." "I want to tell her," Marcus said. "But only if you agree. Only if we do it together." Samantha studied him carefully. He wasn't the man she had once loved. He was quieter, maybe softer, maybe stronger. "She loves to draw," she said after a long pause. "She thinks in colors. She says purple is how love feels." Marcus smiled faintly. "That sounds exactly right." "She doesn't need you to be perfect, Marcus," Samantha said. "She just needs you to show up." "I will." "I mean it," her voice grew firmer. "No disappearing. No backing out when it gets hard." "I'm not going anywhere." Samantha glanced at her daughter, who was now dozing gently in her lap, breathing smooth again. "Then we'll take it slow," she said. "You can spend time with her. Get to know her. We'll tell her when the time is right." Marcus nodded, emotion catching in his throat. "Thank you," he said. "You earned a little of it today," she replied. As the school emptied and the sun dipped lower in the sky, Marcus watched mother and daughter together, still a unit, still whole. But maybe, just maybe, there was room now for him to become a part of it. Marcus didn't sleep much that weekend. Not because he was worried, but because he couldn't stop thinking about the way Lila's fingers had wrapped around his, about how she had trusted him, even in the middle of a panic, about how her little head had rested on his shoulder like it belonged there. He kept replaying Samantha's words over and over again. "She doesn't need you to be perfect. She just needs you to show up." So that's what he did. The following week, Marcus rearranged his schedule. He asked the clinic team to handle preliminary paperwork without him for a few days. And on Thursday, just before 3 p.m., he stood outside the art room again, holding 2 cups of juice and a small sketchpad. Lila was the last one to leave. When she spotted him, her face lit up with something that looked a little like recognition and a little like curiosity. "Hi again," she said. "Hi, artist," he replied, kneeling slightly. "Thought you might like some juice after all that painting." She giggled and took the cup. "Are you always going to be here on Thursdays?" "I can be," Marcus said. "If you'd like that." She looked at him, thoughtful. "You don't feel like a stranger." His heart caught. "Well," he said carefully, "maybe that's because we were meant to be friends." "Can we draw together?" "Absolutely." They sat on the low steps outside the school. Marcus handed her the sketchpad. "I'm not very good at this," he warned. "That's okay," Lila said. "You just have to feel it." So he followed her lead. She drew a big tree with swirling purple leaves. He drew something that vaguely resembled a dog, which made her laugh until she hiccuped. He hadn't laughed like this in years. As the sun began to dip, Samantha pulled up in her car. She watched them from a short distance, not interrupting. Lila looked lighter, happier, and so did Marcus. When he finally stood to say goodbye, Lila handed him the sketchpad. "You can keep it," she said shyly, "so you can practice for next time." He took it like it was made of gold. "Thank you," he said quietly. Samantha rolled down the window. "You're good with her." "I'm learning," Marcus said. "That's more than you know." Over the next few weeks, Thursdays became sacred. Sometimes they went for short walks. Sometimes he helped her pick out new paint colors from the dollar store. Sometimes he just sat with her while she talked about her week, her favorite stories, her dreams, her questions about space and how glue sticks work. It wasn't always smooth. There were days she was grumpy or tired. There was one afternoon she burst into tears because a classmate had said her painting was too messy. Marcus didn't try to fix it. He just sat beside her, handed her tissues, and let her cry. "You're not mad?" she had asked between sniffles. "Why would I be mad?" "Because I'm crying." Marcus shook his head. "Crying means you care. That's brave." Lila looked at him with wide eyes. "You talk like Mommy." That made him smile. "Your mom is very wise." Samantha watched this slow unfolding with caution and with hope. She wasn't ready to tell Lila everything yet, but she saw something blooming between them, something fragile and real. One Friday afternoon, she asked Marcus to stay for tea. It wasn't much, just bags of cheap chamomile in chipped mugs, but it felt like peace offering. They sat on her back porch while Lila napped inside. "She's sleeping better these days," Samantha said. "I'm glad," Marcus replied. "I think she feels safer. Like the world got a little bigger, but not in a scary way." They were quiet for a moment. "I regret not trying harder to reach you," Samantha said suddenly. "I was angry. But maybe I should have tried harder." Marcus shook his head. "You did what you had to. I wasn't ready. I don't think I could have been the father she deserved back then. And now, I want to be. I want to earn it every day." Samantha looked down at her tea, then back up. "She has your stubbornness," she said with a small smile. "And your left dimple. Especially when she's proud of herself." "She has your heart," Marcus said. "I see it in everything she does." That night, as he drove home, Marcus found himself thinking not about the clinic or the meetings he had postponed, but about the color purple. The color of Lila's leaves. The color of love, she had said. And somehow, that felt exactly right. The rain had been falling since early morning. Not the kind that rushed in and thundered, but a soft, steady drizzle. The kind that made the world feel quieter. Softer. Like it was trying to listen. Marcus stood at the entrance of the small bookstore cafe where Samantha had invited him to meet. It wasn't their usual routine. Thursdays were for art class. Sundays were for short walks. But this was different. When he walked in, she was already there, sitting near the window, hands wrapped around a warm mug. She looked up and smiled. Not wide, but real. "Hey," she said. "Hey," he replied, sliding into the seat across from her. They ordered tea. Neither of them liked coffee anymore. There was a moment of silence, not awkward, just filled with something both of them were learning to navigate: familiarity, history, and something unnamed in between. "I think we should tell her," Samantha said quietly. Marcus blinked. "I've been thinking about it a lot," she continued, "and I don't want to keep secrets from her. She's starting to ask more questions." "Like what?" "Like why you're always around now. Why you know what kind of juice she likes. Why you care." Marcus exhaled slowly. "I want her to know," he said. I don't want to scare her. Or confuse her." "I think she already knows in her own way," Samantha said. "She told me last week that she had a dream where you came to every school event and always had snacks." Marcus laughed softly. "That actually sounds accurate." Samantha stirred her tea. "I think if we tell her together, calmly, honestly, she'll understand." Marcus nodded. "I'll follow your lead." She met his eyes. "You don't have to follow. Just walk beside me." "For her." He held her gaze. "Always." They told Lila the next evening. It was quiet. Simple. On the living room couch. Samantha sat on one side. Marcus on the other. "Sweetheart," Samantha began, "do you remember how you asked about Dr. Marcus?" Lila nodded, curled up in a blanket, her sketchbook on her lap. "Well," Samantha said gently, "there's something we want to tell you. Something important." Marcus leaned in, voice soft. "You know how much I love spending time with you?" Lila nodded again. "That's because you're not just someone special to me," he said. "You're my daughter." She stared at him, then at her mother, then back again. "Really?" she whispered. "Yes," Samantha said, her voice steady. "Marcus is your dad." Lila blinked, then slowly, carefully, looked down at her sketchbook. She flipped to the page she had drawn earlier, the one with 3 stick figures again. "I knew it," she said quietly. "This one is you." She pointed at the tall figure with glasses. Marcus felt his throat tighten. "You're not upset?" "No," she said. "I'm just glad you're here now." She leaned over and hugged him. Not like a stranger. Like someone she'd been waiting for without even knowing it. From that moment, something shifted. Lila began to call him Daddy, sometimes, tentatively at first, then with more ease. She drew him into her routines. She'd save her stories from school to tell him. She insisted he learn how to braid hair. She'd test him with trivia questions like, "What's my favorite crayon color today?" and beam when he got it right. But not everything was smooth. There were hard moments too. The first time Marcus tried to help with a bedtime meltdown, Lila yelled, "I want mommy." He stepped back, gave her space. Later that night he sat on the back porch with Samantha. "I'm not trying to take your place," he said. "I just don't want her to think I'll disappear if she pushes me away." "She doesn't think that," Samantha said gently. "She just doesn't know yet that she can lean on you too." Marcus looked out at the quiet yard. Maybe we should make this easier. For her. For you." "What do you mean?" "I've been thinking about buying a house nearby," he said. "Something close. So I can be part of the everyday, not just Thursdays and weekends." Samantha looked at him, surprised. "You do that?" "I want to." He hesitated. "But I don't want to make things complicated. I know we're not us anymore. I just want to make this easier for Lila. And for you." Samantha was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Actually, there's a place for rent just down the street." "Really?" "Small. Nothing fancy. But close enough to walk." Marcus smiled. "That sounds perfect." And so he moved in. Not into their home. But close enough to show up. Close enough to learn what kind of cereal Lila liked on Tuesdays, and how she liked her bedtime stories told with silly voices, and when her breathing was just a little tighter than usual. One night, Samantha found him in his tiny kitchen, helping Lila with a school project. They were building a model of the solar system out of painted foam balls and toothpicks. Samantha leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, smiling. Marcus looked up. "What? You're good at this." "I'm learning," he said, then paused. "Still." That night, after Lila had gone home with her mom, Marcus sat at his window. He looked across the street. There, in the second window from the left, a small lamp glowed behind a curtain of stars. Lila's nightlight. And for the first time in years, Marcus didn't feel alone. He felt rooted, like he was finally building something that mattered. The morning was unusually warm for early spring. Birds chattered outside Marcus's window, and sunlight streamed in, soft and golden. It was the kind of day that made everything feel just a little more alive. He was in the middle of slicing strawberries for Lila's favorite yogurt parfait when his phone buzzed on the counter. He wiped his hands and glanced at the screen. Urgent. Dr. Hale, position opening at St. James Children's Hospital, New York. Director of Pediatrics. Immediate reply requested. He stared at the message. St. James was one of the most prestigious hospitals in the country. It was the kind of opportunity people spent decades chasing. A year ago, he would have responded in 10 seconds. Now, he just stood there, strawberries in hand, heart suddenly very quiet. Before he could think further, a knock came at the door. It was Samantha. Her eyes were wide. Lila's teacher just called, she said. There's been an incident. His blood ran cold. What happened? She fainted during music class. They think it's an asthma flare. She's at the nurse's office now. They say she's stable, but she's asking for you. Marcus didn't need another word. He grabbed his keys, his medical bag, and followed Samantha out the door. At the school, Lila sat propped up on the nurse's cot, pale but breathing evenly. A small oxygen mask rested near her side. Her eyes lit up when she saw them. "Daddy," she whispered, holding out her hand. Marcus rushed to her, kneeling beside the bed. "I'm here," he said gently. "I've got you." Samantha stood behind him, her hand on Lila's shoulder. "I was just singing," Lila murmured. And then everything felt tight. "You're okay now," Marcus said. "You were very brave." He examined her carefully, checked her lungs, her pulse, her oxygen level. Everything looked manageable, but it still scared him. The what-ifs always did. Once she was calm and resting again, he stepped into the hallway with Samantha. "She's okay," he said softly. Samantha nodded, but her shoulders trembled just slightly. "I thought we were past this," she whispered. "She's been doing so well." "She has. But flare-ups happen. Especially when the seasons change." Samantha turned to him. Her eyes searched his. "Are you still thinking about New York?" He blinked. "What?" "Your phone buzzed. I saw the name. St. James. That's huge, right?" Marcus was silent. "I wasn't snooping," she said quickly. I know what that place means to you." Marcus looked back through the glass window at the little girl curled up on the cot. "She asked for me," he said quietly. "Yes," Samantha whispered. "She did." He took a breath. "Long did." "A year ago," he said, "I thought success was a title. A building with my name on it. Numbers on a screen. And now." He looked at her. "At breakfast this morning, Lila asked if we could plant strawberries together in your garden." Samantha blinked, caught off guard. "She said we could each take turns watering them. Like a team." He smiled. "That's what success looks like now. One plant at a time. One breath at a time. One promise I get to keep." Samantha swallowed hard. "So, you're staying?" Marcus nodded. "I'm home." Later that week, Lila returned to school. She wore a purple hoodie and carried a brand new inhaler in her backpack, labeled in bright stickers, "Lila's, do not remove." She insisted on giving a short speech to her class about asthma and how sometimes breathing is hard, but it doesn't mean you're broken. Marcus sat in the back, next to Samantha, trying and failing not to cry. That night, they planted strawberries. Lila poked her little fingers into the soil, serious as a scientist. "Do strawberries like music?" she asked. "Absolutely," Marcus said, "especially when sung by girls named Lila." She giggled and started humming. Samantha leaned on the porch railing, arms folded, watching them. "You know," she said softly, "you've changed." "I hope so." She smiled. "I mean it. Not just in how you are with her, but how you are with yourself." Marcus looked up from the soil. He met her gaze. "I used to be afraid of loving something I couldn't control," he said. "Now I'm just afraid of missing moments like this." Samantha walked down the steps. She crouched beside him, watching Lila water the baby plants. "Do you still want to build something with me?" she asked. Marcus turned to her. "I already am. Not a romance rekindled. Not a fairy tale ending. But a family. Built slowly, gently, and deliberately, like a garden after rain." And as the evening light dipped behind the trees, and their daughter sang softly to strawberry plants that hadn't yet grown, Marcus Hale finally understood what real healing looked like. It looked like roots, like trust, like love, planted deep, watered daily. And it looked exactly like her. The first cold snap came early that year. One morning, the leaves were still clinging to their orange-red glory. The next, frost had claimed the grass, and the wind carried a sharpness that bit at the skin. Marcus was up early as usual. He had just finished packing Lila's school snack, sliced apples with a little container of peanut butter, her favorite, when the phone rang. It was Samantha. Her voice was tight. "Marcus, I think something's wrong." He didn't ask questions. He just grabbed his coat and ran. By the time he arrived, Lila was sitting on the couch, wrapped in 2 blankets, her forehead glistening with sweat. Her breathing was shallow, not wheezing like a typical asthma flare, but something deeper, more alarming. He touched her cheek. It was burning. 102.6, Samantha said. She woke up coughing. Then she said everything felt floaty. "I didn't want to panic." "You did the right thing," Marcus said. He lifted her gently. Lila stirred, her voice small. "Daddy." "I'm here, baby," he whispered. "We're going to the hospital, okay?" She nodded weakly and tucked her face into his chest. At the emergency room, Marcus shifted into doctor mode. He stood by the attending's side, helping read charts, suggesting tests, watching every monitor like a hawk. Samantha stood back, arms crossed, her eyes never leaving their daughter's face. A few hours later, the diagnosis came: a viral infection, intensified by mild pneumonia. The doctor assured them it wasn't life-threatening, but she'd need to stay overnight for observation, and they'd have to be vigilant. Marcus didn't leave her side. He sat in the hard hospital chair, holding Lila's hand, brushing hair from her forehead when she stirred. Samantha eventually returned with an overnight bag and 2 changes of clothes. "Want me to take over for a while?" she offered. Marcus shook his head. "I'm okay." She hesitated, then sat down in the chair beside him. "She's strong," Samantha said softly. "But this scared me." "It scared me too." There was a long pause. Then she added, "I've done this alone for 6 years. But now, sometimes I don't know how to share it." Marcus turned to her, surprised. "I'm used to making every decision, knowing her every pattern, when to push, when to hold back. And now you're here. You love her. And she loves you. But it's an adjustment." "I get it," Marcus said. "I'm used to being in control too. In the hospital, I'm the one who knows what to do. But with her, sometimes I feel like I'm learning everything from scratch." Samantha smiled faintly. "Maybe we both are." Lila stirred, her tiny hand tightening around Marcus's fingers. He leaned closer. "I'm right here," he whispered. The night passed slowly. Nurses came and went. Monitors beeped. But Marcus never moved. In the early hours of the morning, Samantha dozed off against the window. Lila slept, her breath soft and steady again. Marcus sat in the dark, watching his daughter's chest rise and fall. He felt the weight of everything. The missed years. The fragile thread of trust they were building. The fear that even now, it could all be taken away. He didn't pray often. But that night he did. Not for himself. Just for her. When morning came, Lila opened her eyes and smiled at him weakly. "You stayed," she whispered. "Always," Marcus replied. Later that day, as they prepared to take her home, the nurse handed Marcus a discharge summary. "Your daughter's lucky," she said gently. "Not just because she's okay, but because she has 2 parents who clearly love her more than anything." Marcus glanced at Samantha, who met his gaze with something softer now. warmer. They weren't perfect. They didn't have all the answers. But they had Lila. And for now, that was everything. The sun was unusually bright for a winter morning. Marcus was adjusting the curtains in his small living room when his phone buzzed. It was a message from his mother. "We're in town. Your father wants to see you. Dinner." He stared at it for a long moment. Then typed back, "Yes. Come by at 6. I'll cook." He didn't mention it to Lila right away. That afternoon, she was busy building a tower of books in the middle of the living room, declaring it her castle of quiet. She asked if he wanted to be the dragon or the knight. He chose to be the wall. And she giggled like it was the greatest answer in the world. Later, as he prepared dinner, roasted chicken, potatoes, and a salad he knew his mom would pretend to love, he found himself pacing. Lila noticed. "You okay, Daddy?" He knelt beside her. "We're having special guests tonight. My mom and dad. Your grandparents." Her eyes lit up. "Like, the kind from stories?" "Maybe a little less magical," he smiled. "But yes, they've never met you before." She paused. "Are they nice?" Marcus hesitated. "Grandma is. Grandpa can be a little quiet." Lila nodded. "Like I used to be." That stopped him. "Exactly," he whispered. They arrived right on time. Marcus opened the door and saw his mother first, petite, warm, quick to smile. Then his father, tall, stiff, still in his wool coat, as if unsure whether he should fully step in. His mother hugged him tightly. "Oh, it's so good to see you. You look healthy. And tired. And taller, somehow still growing." Marcus laughed awkwardly. "I think that's the shoes." Then he turned to his father. "Hi, Dad." A short nod. A handshake. Not cold, contained. Samantha arrived shortly after, having agreed to join so Lila would feel safe. She brought dessert, and her calm smile did more to fill the room than any candle could. Lila stood in the hallway, half hiding behind Marcus's leg. "This," Marcus said, gently nudging her forward, "is Lila." His mother crouched immediately, her eyes watering. "Oh, sweetheart. You are beautiful." Lila smiled, shy but curious. "And this is my dad," Marcus said. His father cleared his throat. "Hello." Lila stepped forward. "Hi. Do you like drawing?" There was a pause. "I haven't tried in a long time," he said. "Then you can start again," she offered. "I have extra crayons." Marcus watched the moment, heart pounding. It wasn't a grand gesture. But it was something. Dinner was quiet at first. Samantha and Marcus's mother made most of the conversation. About books, school, gardening. Marcus's father said little. But he watched. Listened. When Lila offered him half a biscuit, he took it. When she showed him her favorite purple pencil, he nodded. And when she whispered, "I think you're less scary than your face looks," he almost smiled. Almost. After dessert, Lila climbed onto Marcus's lap and leaned into his chest. "I'm sleepy," she murmured. Samantha kissed her forehead. "Let's get you home, Peanut." Marcus walked them out. Hugged Lila gently. Watched as they drove away. When he came back in, his parents were sitting on the couch. His mother looked pleased. His father, unreadable. Marcus sat across from them. "She's wonderful," his mother said softly. "She is," Marcus replied. A long silence. Then his father spoke. "I didn't know how to be a father." Marcus looked up. "You were always quiet," his father continued. "And sensitive. And I thought the way to raise a man was to make him tougher. Less breakable." Marcus said nothing. "I see now," his father added, voice low. "You didn't need to be hardened. You needed to be heard." For a moment, Marcus wasn't a doctor. Or a father. Or a grown man. He was just a boy again. And for the first time, his father looked at him not with distance, but with regret. "I'm trying," the older man said. Marcus swallowed hard. "So am I." As they said goodbye at the door, his father turned to him once more. "You're a good dad, Marcus." It was only 5 words. But they landed like thunder. After they left, Marcus sat alone in the quiet. Then he picked up the purple pencil Lila had left on the table. And began to draw. Badly. Crookedly. But with effort. And somehow, it felt like the most honest thing he'd done all day. The assignment came home in a crumpled folder. A single sheet of paper, printed in bold letters. Who is your hero? A special Father's Day essay project, first grade. Marcus read it at the kitchen table while Lila munched on apple slices beside him. You get to write about your hero? He asked with a smile. Lila nodded, her mouth full. Do you have someone in mind? He added. She looked up at him, then tilted her head. I have two. His heart fluttered. Two? Yeah. Mommy and you. Marcus blinked. It's for Father's Day though. I know. But Mommy did both jobs before you came. She said it so simply, like a fact. And Marcus felt something in his chest twist, not in jealousy, but in awe. In just 6 years, this little girl had learned that love wasn't about titles. It was about showing up. Can I write about both of you? Lila asked. I think you can write about whoever your heart tells you to, Marcus replied softly. That night, Lila sat at her little desk, tongue poking out the side of her mouth as she scribbled. She asked him how to spell courage. He asked her if she wanted help, and she shook her head proudly. When she was done, she folded the page and placed it gently into her backpack. The next morning, Marcus dropped her off at school. Before she ran inside, she turned and whispered, Don't peek, okay? He held up his hands. Promise. But all day, he couldn't stop thinking about that essay. A week later, the school hosted a small event. Donuts with Dad, a sweet gathering where kids read their essays aloud. Marcus sat on one of the tiny blue chairs, knees practically at his chin, surrounded by dads and grandfathers with awkward smiles and glazed donuts. Lila spotted him immediately. She waved so hard her hair bounced. He waved back, heart pounding. When her name was called, she walked to the front, gripping her paper tightly. Her voice was soft at first, but she didn't stumble. My hero is two people. One is my mommy. She took care of me when I was little and sick and scared. She makes the best soup and reads stories even when she's tired. She was my everything for a long time. My other hero is my daddy. He came later, but I think maybe he was always coming. He draws bad dogs and cooks good pancakes. He holds my hand when I'm scared at the doctor. He stayed in the hospital all night. He says love means not leaving even when it's hard. My heroes are not perfect, but they love me big, and I love them back. By the time she finished, the room was silent. Even the donut in Marcus's hand had gone soft. He wiped his eyes discreetly. As she walked back to her seat, she paused by him and whispered, Did I do okay? Marcus knelt down. You did better than okay, he said. You told the truth. She smiled. Can we go get purple milkshakes after school? Absolutely. That evening he showed Samantha the essay. She read it twice. Then looked at Marcus. She sees us, she said. Exactly as we are. She really does. They didn't talk more after that. They didn't need to. Sometimes love doesn't shout. It writes itself on a crumpled sheet of notebook paper, with uneven letters and misspelled words. And somehow, that's louder than anything else. It started with a coloring page. Something small. Something no one noticed. Until Lila came home quiet. Too quiet. She didn't rush to tell Marcus about her day. She didn't ask for her usual after-school yogurt with sprinkles. She just slipped off her backpack, walked to her room, and closed the door. Marcus stood frozen for a second. Then knocked gently. Hey bug, everything okay? The pause. Then a muffled, I'm tired. He waited a beat longer, then stepped away. Samantha called that night after picking Lila up from her place. She didn't say a word in the car. She said, Her teacher emailed me. Apparently there was a small incident. Marcus sat up straighter. What kind of incident? She was paired with another girl for an art activity. They were drawing my family. Lila drew you, me, and her, holding hands under a tree. Marcus smiled faintly. Sounds about right. The other girl looked at it and said, You can't draw two parents if they don't live together. That's not a real family. Silence. Marcus gripped the phone tighter. She told the teacher she had a tummy ache and wanted to go to the nurse. His heart sank. The next morning he packed her snack like always. but added a note in her lunchbox. Real families come in all shapes. Ours is the best shape because it has you. Daddy. She didn't say much when she read it. Just folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. That afternoon, Marcus met with her teacher. She's bright, the woman said. Strong. But this shook her. She's 6, Marcus replied. She shouldn't have to defend the shape of her love. The teacher nodded sympathetically. I've talked to the class. We'll be doing a lesson next week on all kinds of families. Adoption, grandparents, single parents. Yours will be part of it too, if that's okay? Marcus hesitated, then nodded. More than okay. Thank you. That night, Samantha came over. They sat together on Marcus's back porch while Lila napped on the couch inside. She didn't want to go to school tomorrow, Samantha said quietly. Said she doesn't want people to laugh at her drawings again. Marcus sighed. I want to protect her from everything. But I can't wrap her in bubble wrap forever. No, Samantha agreed. But we can show her that truth doesn't need anyone's approval. He looked at her. Do you think we're making this harder? By not being together? Samantha paused. Then shook her head gently. I think we're making it honest. She's not confused because we're apart. She's strong because she knows we're both here. Marcus leaned back. I wish I had that kind of strength growing up. You're giving it now. Before bedtime, they sat on the floor with Lila between them. Marcus pulled out a stack of blank paper and crayons. Want to draw with me? He asked. Lila looked uncertain. Then nodded. They each drew their version of family. Lila drew her usual tree. Marcus drew 3 stick figures with huge smiles and exaggerated glasses. Samantha drew a house, one with 2 doors, but 1 light in every window. Lila looked at them both. Can I ask something? Always, Samantha said. Why don't you live in the same house? Marcus met Samantha's eyes, then turned to Lila. Because sometimes the best way to love someone is to give them space. Samantha added, and even when we're not under one roof, we still share the most important thing. Lila tilted her head. Me? Marcus grinned. Exactly. She smiled, and then picked up a purple crayon and added a bridge between the 2 houses. It started with a toothbrush. A pink one, with sparkles and a tiny dolphin on the handle. Lila left it behind one Thursday night after dinner. Marcus saw it sitting by the sink the next morning, and couldn't bring himself to move it. He just stared at it for a long time. And something clicked. That weekend, he cleared out the small second bedroom in his apartment. It had been a half-used storage room, piles of old textbooks, a treadmill with clothes hanging off it, forgotten donation boxes. He spent 2 days sorting, lifting, cleaning. Then painted the walls pale lavender, Lila's favorite color. He didn't ask her opinion. Didn't want to spoil the surprise. But he remembered her words. Why don't I have a bed at your house? And it had stuck with him. She never complained. Never asked for more. But he realized, every Thursday night she left his place, she was leaving. Not from her home, but from his. That had to change. He picked out bedding with clouds and stars. Found a soft rug in the shape of a heart. Bought shelves shaped like houses. And placed her favorite storybooks beside a small reading lamp shaped like a fox. Then he called Samantha. Is she free this Friday night? Sure, she said. Why? Tell her to bring her pajamas. I want her to see something. Lila ran through the door like always, but stopped cold when Marcus opened the second room and turned on the light. She stepped inside slowly. The lavender walls glowed warm in the sunset. The little bed was tucked beneath the window. A soft bunny lay waiting on the pillow. Her mouth dropped open. This is for me? Marcus nodded. Your room, your space. Your toothbrush gets a forever home now. She walked over and touched the corner of the bed, then turned to him, eyes wide. You painted it purple. I remembered. She smiled, then did something he wasn't prepared for. She ran into his arms, heart. Not just a hug, but something full-bodied. Grateful. Wordless. I love it, she whispered. He held her close. That night, Samantha dropped by with a small bag of Lila's clothes and a wide-eyed look. You really did it. She deserves it. Samantha looked around the room, then back at Marcus. You know what this says to her? What? That she belongs here. Not as a guest. Not as a visitor. But as your daughter. Marcus swallowed. That's exactly what I wanted. Lila stayed the night. They made popcorn and watched movies. She insisted on wearing her new pajamas and brushing her teeth with the dolphin toothbrush. When it was time for bed, she climbed under the covers and looked up at him. Can you read the cloud story? He sat beside her and opened the book. Midway through, her breathing slowed. Her thumb curled into the corner of her pillow. He finished the last page quietly, then sat there, watching her sleep. The stars on her blanket glowed faintly in the dark. And for the first time, Marcus understood what people meant when they said home wasn't a place. It was someone. He turned off the light and left the door open just a crack. Just enough for the love to shine through. The school auditorium buzzed with excitement. It was the end-of-year performance, a tradition full of tiny costumes, off-key songs, and proud parents waving phone cameras. Marcus arrived early, a folded program in one hand, a small bouquet of daisies in the other. He wore the blazer Lila once said made him look like a principal. He found his seat in the second row. 5 minutes later, Samantha slipped into the seat beside him. She looked surprised. You saved me a spot? He smiled. I saved her a view. Samantha glanced at the stage. She'll be nervous. She told me she wants to sing loud enough that we can hear her in the parking lot. They both chuckled, then sat in a silence that was strangely comfortable. Backstage, Lila stood in her yellow dress, adjusting the flower crown on her head. Her teacher knelt beside her. Are you ready? Lila nodded, but her fingers trembled. Remember, the teacher said gently, you're not alone out there. Lila peeked through the side curtain. Rows and rows of people. Then she spotted them. Marcus. Samantha. Sitting side by side. 2 smiles, one calm, one crooked, but both just for her. Her hands stopped shaking. The curtain rose. Tiny feet shuffled into place. Music started. And Lila sang. Not the loudest. Not the most in tune. But steady. Sure. Her voice wove through the melody like sunlight through leaves. And when she glanced toward the second row, she found 2 sets of eyes, not watching to judge, but to cheer. She smiled. And in that moment, she wasn't worried about families that didn't match the pictures in storybooks. She wasn't thinking about shared custody or asthma or hospital nights. She just felt held. After the show, the hallway outside the auditorium was filled with noise. Kids ran, adults beamed, flowers exchanged hands. Lila walked toward them, her flower crown slightly crooked. You were amazing, Samantha said, hugging her. You sparkled, Marcus added, handing her the daisies. Lila looked at both of them. Did you cry? Marcus grinned. Only a little. Samantha laughed. He cried a lot. Lila giggled. Then slipped one daisy into Samantha's purse and the other into Marcus's blazer pocket. So you both remember tonight forever. They both looked at her, then at each other. A soft pause. Then Samantha knelt down. We're so proud of you. Marcus added, always. Lila took their hands, one in each of hers. Can we get pancakes? She asked. Absolutely, they said in unison. As they walked to the car, a family of 3, not traditional but true, Marcus glanced down at Lila. You did something really brave tonight, he said. I know, she said. I looked for you. And you were there. He squeezed her hand. They didn't talk more after that. Some stories don't end with fireworks. Just footsteps. Side by side. Steady. Certain. And that's enough. The email came on a quiet Monday morning. Marcus had just walked Lila to school, her backpack bouncing behind her, a daisy clipped into her hair, when he opened his inbox and saw the subject line. Position opening. Pediatric medical director. He paused. It was from the city hospital, not far from where he now lived. A prestigious role. Fewer night shifts. More influence. A chance to help shape pediatric care on a larger scale. But also, more hours. More meetings. Less flexibility. Less time with Lila. Still, curiosity won. He clicked the link. That afternoon, he sat at his kitchen table rereading the job description. A dozen qualifications. A long list of responsibilities. He met all of them. Except maybe one. The unspoken one. Can you still be the dad you promised to be? He called Samantha. I got an interview, he said. She sounded genuinely excited. That's great. Where? He told her. There was a pause. Big job, she said. Big job, he echoed. Another pause. Do you want it? I don't know, he admitted. I think I want the option. The interview was set for Friday morning. He shaved. Wore the navy suit Lila called his important clothes. Even used cologne. Before leaving, he stopped by her school. She ran to the fence, waving. You smell fancy, she said. I have a meeting. Will they give you stickers? Probably not. Then what's the point? He laughed. Then knelt. Whatever happens, I'll still walk you to school. You promise? I promise. The interview went well. Too well. By Monday, he got the call. They wanted him. And they wanted him to start in 3 weeks. He stared out the window after hanging up. The late afternoon sun painted golden stripes across the floor. And suddenly, the house felt quieter than usual. Samantha dropped Lila off that evening. She skipped into the kitchen. Can we make spaghetti? Of course, Marcus said, snapping out of his thoughts. She danced away to find her apron. Samantha lingered at the doorway. So, I got it. And? I'm torn. She nodded. Because of her? Because of everything, he said. The time I missed. The time I've had. The time I might lose again. Samantha walked in and leaned against the counter. You're not the same man who left 12 years ago, she said. You won't disappear. I'm afraid I will, in a different way. Present, but not really there. She looked at him. Then don't chase a job. Build a life. That night, after dinner, Lila climbed into his lap. Can I still sleep at your house if you get busy? You'll always have a bed here, he said. But will you be here too? He didn't answer right away. Then kissed the top of her head. I'll figure it out. He emailed the hospital the next morning. Subject, offer response. Body, I'd like to propose a different arrangement. It happened during recess. Marcus was on his lunch break when the school's number flashed on his phone. He answered, heart suddenly alert. Mr. Reed? This is Ms. Daniels, Lila's teacher. She's okay, but there was a small conflict today. We'd like you to come in if you're available. He was there in 10 minutes. Lila sat outside the office, arms crossed, her flower clip dangling crookedly in her hair. Her lip quivered when she saw him, but she didn't cry. Hey, Bug, Marcus said gently, kneeling. She didn't speak. Ms. Daniels emerged from the office, motioning him inside. It was during recess, she explained. Another student, Tommy, told Lila she didn't have a real family because her parents weren't married and didn't live together. Marcus's jaw tightened. Lila pushed him. He fell. No injuries, but, well, we thought it best to call you. She's not in trouble, is she? Ms. Daniels shook her head. We'll have them both apologize. But I wanted to give you a heads up. Marcus nodded slowly. Then returned to Lila. They walked out of the school in silence. At home, Lila climbed onto the couch and pulled a blanket over her head. Marcus sat beside her. I'm not mad, he said softly. Nothing. But I want to hear your side. Her voice came out small. He said I don't have a real family. That you're just visiting. Marcus clenched his hands, then relaxed them. What did you say back? I told him my family is realer than his robot toys. And then I pushed him. Marcus sighed. Lila peeked out from under the blanket. Am I in big trouble? He smiled gently. Medium. She frowned. I didn't mean to hurt him. I just felt fire. Marcus nodded. I get it. He leaned back, choosing his words. You know, sometimes people say things that sound big, but come from small thinking. Lila tilted her head. Tommy doesn't understand your life, so he judged it. But that doesn't make him right. And pushing, that's giving your power away. She was quiet, then whispered, but I wanted him to feel bad. Marcus took a breath. Sometimes the strongest thing we can do is not hit back, but stand taller. Lila looked down at her hands. Do we have a real family? Marcus leaned closer. Let me ask you this. Do you have two people who love you more than anything? She nodded. Do you have a home, or two, where you feel safe? She nodded again. Do you get bedtime stories, boo-boo kisses, and pancakes? A small smile crept in. Then yes, Marcus said. That's the realest kind of family there is. Later that night, Lila wrote a note. She gave it to Marcus to read before school the next day. Dear Tommy, I'm sorry I pushed you. But you were wrong. My family is real because love is real. Also, your robot is cool. Lila. Marcus folded the note and kissed her forehead. I'm proud of you, he said. For what? For standing up without pushing down. At school, Lila handed the note to Tommy. He blinked. Then said, My mom says I was rude. I forgive you, Lila said. Then added, Want to draw robots together at recess? Tommy blinked again. Then smiled. Okay. That evening, Marcus called Samantha and told her the story. She invited him to draw with her, he said, shaking his head. She gets that from you, Samantha replied. No, Marcus said softly, looking out the window. She gets that from all of us. The first week of the new position was a blur. Meetings, rounds, orientation sessions. Marcus barely had time to eat lunch, let alone breathe. He set alarms to remind himself to call Lila at bedtime. Sometimes he caught her just as Samantha was turning off the lights. Sometimes he missed her by 5 minutes. The first night he missed, she left him a voicemail. Hi Daddy. I brushed my teeth twice. Mommy made broccoli but I didn't cry. Good night. I love you. He played it 3 times. Then sat in silence, staring at the wall. Friday came faster than he expected. He got off work late. His tie was askew, his coat wrinkled, and a half-finished coffee cup sat forgotten in his passenger seat. When he reached Samantha's door, Lila was already in pajamas. Can she just stay here tonight? Samantha asked gently. She's exhausted. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. Lila hugged him goodbye. Quick, casual. No tears. That somehow made it worse. He drove home in the dark, the city lights blurring through the windshield. When he opened the front door, the silence felt bigger. Like it had corners. Saturday morning, the little lavender room stayed empty. The bunny on the bed hadn't moved. The tiny socks in the drawer still smelled faintly of strawberry shampoo. He made coffee, then pulled out his phone and typed a message to Samantha. Let me know when she wakes up. I'd like to pick her up early. No reply yet. He wandered into the kitchen. The crayon magnet drawing Lila made, My Family, in shaky letters, was still stuck to the fridge. 3 smiling stick figures. Marcus stared at it, then took it down. Not out of anger. Out of longing. By noon, he was standing outside Samantha's apartment. She answered the door in sweatpants and a quiet smile. She's still sleeping. Marcus raised his eyebrows. Still. She stayed up late drawing a picture book. Wanted to finish the story. He stepped inside quietly. Lila was curled on the couch, a pile of markers and folded pages beside her. He picked up the top sheet. The bunny who missed his house. A small sketch showed a bunny standing outside a window, watching a light glowing inside. The next page, the bunny with a tiny suitcase. Then, the bunny opening the door to a room filled with stars. Marcus swallowed. She missed you, Samantha said softly behind him. He nodded. I missed her, but not just her. I missed being in it, not just showing up at the door. That night, Lila returned with him. She unpacked her little bag like she'd never left. Marcus sat on the floor while she taped her finished bunny story on the wall beside her bed. This page is your favorite, she declared. He looked. The one with the bunny curled up under a star blanket, smiling. You're right, he said. That one's perfect. Before bed, he read the story aloud. She fell asleep before the last page. He tucked the blanket around her. Then whispered, You're not the only one who misses things, Bug. He turned out the light. But this time, the house didn't feel so empty. Because being present isn't about space. It's about showing up even when you're tired, even when it's hard. And tonight he was here. Fully.